For all of those who do not know, my name is Heath Marvin.
Timmy.
I was born around November. Why did I say around? I was definitely born November 13th. At what time?
Ross.
And I grew up in a household that always went to church. Went to the Nazarene. Most of the time, like always. Andrew, stop! You distracted me.
Sorry, I might have fist pumped a couple times for the Naz. I'm sorry. That was my bad.
I don't speak in front of people a lot, so bear with me. I grew up in the Nazarene. Always went to church, even though I didn't like. A few weeks ago, we actually did have a discussion. We always, whoever didn't like church, you liked going to church. Once you went to church, you loved it, but you didn't like the fact beforehand your parents were like, "You're going to church. I want you to go to church," and you're going, and then you're like, "Oh, that ride to church is like, oh, it's gonna take forever." You get there and it's the best time of your life. And then, well, I got off track. Around 2 years old, I was diagnosed with hemophilia. But for those of you, obviously, most of you know about having hemophilia. But to really understand what that is, it's pretty much a disease that doesn't make your blood doesn't clot, which means that you pretty much bleed on the inside, and if you get hit or if you get cut, it doesn't stop bleeding until you take your medicine. Which, I mean, I guess I've always stuck with it because you can't have to, and you can't really fix it. That never really affected my faith though. But when I was around fifth grade, my great grandma died. That really affected me a little bit. It didn't affect me to where I never stopped going to church with them. I still went to church, still went to the Nazarene, and then let's see, around the same time, it was after school. It was after fifth grade. It was in the summer. One church service. It was about divorce, and that day, I remember before church, my brother did something to get my parents upset a little bit. And after the church service, me and my brother were playing outside. We were playing basketball outside. And he did something, I forget. We're both really competitive. So he must have elbowed me or something. And I started crying, and I went to my room and I was crying, I don't know. And then I heard my parents, and they're like, "Heath, get over here." And I'm like, oh, in my mind, I'm like, oh wow, this is terrible timing. I'm really crying. And we sat down on the couch, and my brother was there too. I'm like, oh, in my mind, I'm like, they're just gonna make me apologize for something I never did, because my brother always somehow accused me of doing something that I didn't do. But instead, my parents told us that they filed for divorce, and I was already crying, but that'd be the worst thing I ever went through. I don't like talking about it either, but that's probably the biggest thing that hit me in my faith. After that, I hated going to church. I mean, I always said I was a Christian though, but like I was one of those Christians who said that they were Christians and wasn't really faithful towards it. That was probably one of the worst moments of my life. And then the years go on. My dad got a new house, and my grandma died after a year. And during middle school, like my grades started slipping. Like I was slacking off C's. I remember having a talk with my math teacher in 6th grade, and he pulled me out of class and he's like, "Dude, I understand that your parents just got divorced, but I mean that doesn't mean that you need to slack off this way. You need to be doing good in school." And I cried during that also. And then pretty much life went on. Middle school. Middle school was just like that was the worst period of my life. Like the past week, I've been thinking about what I was going to say. I began to realize that's probably the worst moments of my life. Like even if I've always had a smile no matter what. I don't like seeing anybody sad because I like seeing people happy. I don't like to be sad because I feel like that'll make people sad. And I've always been a lover, not a fighter. And yeah, middle school was hard. I didn't have too many friends. The friends I had, I lost in high school. In high school, that was also a rough period of time. I had friends that were bad influences on my faith, and I really lost. I had no faith at that point. I never went to church. I went to FCA. Like I said, I believed, but I never really stuck to it. Went to church, and then one day during FCA, this was Chris's first year leading full time, and he's like, "Heath, you got a church?" I'm like, "I haven't gone to church in a while, but no, I don't really have a church." "Do you have a youth group?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "You should come to mine sometime. It's pretty cool." I'm like, sweet. And once I said that, I'm like, I bet he doesn't think I'm gonna go. I knew he didn't think I was gonna go because I felt that he said that to so many people and they never went. I'm like, I gotta go now because I don't want to make him feel bad.
Truth comes out, baby.
So I went and I didn't know where to go, and I went to the gym. And first person I meet is Ross. I'm like, who is this guy? This guy is so awesome, but yet weird at the same time. Chris is the same way. I'm like, what type of youth group is this? When I went to the Nazarene, it was more formal and it would sit there in church. It would sit there after church and it would just learn. And here it's just awesome. You get the fun time, and Chris is awesome, and he teaches a lesson very well, and you just get more out of it. Because I mean, the way I find it better to learn from as a youth, from a youth standpoint. I find it easier to learn from somebody who's younger than somebody older because they have a better understanding of the youth. So that's kind of what made me stick here because. I don't know, just the way, I just like everybody.